is one of the four ultimate realities. And I've told you that Citta is the awareness of the object. So in Abhidhamma, every term is adequately defined. And so Citta is also defined as the awareness of the object. Now when defining the terms of Abhidhamma, the ancient commentaries used three ways of defining, and that is explained in the manual on page 27. They define the Abhidhamma terms as agent, as instrument, and as sheer activity, or mere activity. And that means when they come to define the Abhidhamma terms, they will say, for example, let us take Citta. When they define Citta, they define in three ways. Now, the first is, Citta is that which knows the object. That means Citta is something which does some other thing. So Citta is that or something which knows the object. That is the definition by way of an agent. That means the Citta is the one that does. The second one is by way of instrument. That means Citta is something with the help of which the other concomitants know the object. So Citta is an instrument. Citta is indispensable for these concomitant states to know the object or to be aware of the object. That is by way of instrument. And the third one is by way of just mere activity, just mere happening. That means Citta is the knowing of the object. We use abstract noun when they define in this way. So every term of Abhidhamma is explained or defined in these three ways: as an agent, or as an instrument, or as just mere activity, mere happening. And among these three, the last one, definition as mere activity, is the most adequate definition of these terms. Then why did they use the other two? Now, Buddhists are always concerned with rejection of soul. So there are people who think that Citta is something that knows the object. That means there is something like a permanent soul, and it is the soul that knows the object or something like that. So in order to refute that, in order to deny that, they give the first kind of definition. No, it is not the Atman, it is not the soul that knows the object, it is the Citta that knows the object. So the rejection of Atman is very important for Buddhists. And sometimes people think that when we know something, we know with the help of that Atman. because the Atman helps us to know things, to know objects. Then to refute that belief, they give the second kind of definition. No, it is not the Atman that makes the other concomitants know the object. It is the Chaita that makes the other concomitants know the object. So Chaita is instrumental in these concomitants knowing the object. But if you want to, if they want to define adequately without reference to these other opinions, they would just say Chaita is the knowing of the object. So there are always these three kinds of definition. So anyone will do. So Chaita is what? Chaita is that which knows the object, or that with the help of which concomitants know the object, or just knowing of the object. Now, what is knowing here? Knowing here means just the awareness, not knowing something to be true, something to be good, something to be bad, not that kind of knowing. Here, knowing simply means the awareness, just the bare awareness, not even bare attention we use in instructions for meditation. It is just the bare awareness of the object, and that is what is called Chaita. Since it is defined as the awareness of the object, Chaita can never arise without an object. So whenever there is Chaita, there must be its object. Sometimes it may be a vivid object, and sometimes it may be an obscure object. But object there must be always if Chaita is to arise. So Chaita depends upon the object to arise. Now this Chaita is analyzed in Abhidhamma in different ways. Now in the Dhamma-saṅgaha, it is classified according to, we call them genus, according to their nature. That means wholesome consciousness, unwholesome consciousness, and then those that are neither wholesome nor unwholesome. So that is the order given in the first book of Abhidhamma. But here in this manual, the arrangement is different. Here arrangement is with reference to what are called planes of existence. So in order to understand that division, you must first understand the planes of existence. Now these are treated in the 5th chapter of this manual. Briefly, there are 31 planes of existence. 11 belong to what are called sensuous realms or sensuous sphere, and 16 belong to, let us call, form sphere. Form here means material. And the 4 belong to formless or immaterial sphere. So altogether there are 31. And the human beings and lower celestial beings belong to the 11 sensuous realms or sensuous sphere. Now, consciousness that frequents these realms is called consciousness of sensuous sphere. In Pali, Kama Vajra. That does not mean that these types of consciousness do not arise in other realms. They do arise in other realms, but their primary location of arising is the 11 sensuous realms. So they are called Chetas pertaining to the sensuous sphere. And there are other types of consciousness which are called jhana consciousness, which arise mainly in the 15 form sphere, 15 form realms. First I said 16, right? Now I say 15. Now, out of the 16 form sphere realms, one realm is the abode of mindless beings. So it is said that there is no mind in that realm. So we are now studying the consciousness which belongs to mind, and so that realm has to be left out. So the 15. So types of consciousness which frequent those realms, which arise mainly in those realms, are classed as, say, form sphere consciousness. We will use the Pali words later. And then there are other higher types of consciousness which mainly belong to, or which mainly frequent the four formless realms. So we get now how many? Three say groups. One belonging to sensuous, let's say, sphere, and second belonging to form sphere or material sphere, and the third belonging to formless or immaterial sphere. And there is another sphere which is called supramundane. That is, that goes beyond these three spheres of these three kinds of realms. So, in the manual, Cheta is classified according to the, say, plane of existence, and we call this classification plane of consciousness. So you will find the word plane of consciousness in the manual. Now, how many types of consciousness are there altogether? 89 or 121. So you can see at a glance all 89 or 121 types of consciousness on page 28 of the manual. So you see first the mundane chittas, 81. And then you go to the bottom, supramundane chittas, 8 or 40. So this is the first division. The Cheta is actually one with reference to its characteristic of knowing the object, but it is accompanied by different mental factors, and so Chetas become many. So first, the Cheta is divided into mundane and supramundane Chetas. And then mundane Cheta is subdivided into sense sphere Chetas. How many? 54. And then fine material sphere Chetas. So they use fine material. It's okay. And then next, immaterial sphere Chetas, 12. Then sense sphere Chetas are divided again into subdivisions, and they are unwholesome Chetas. How many? 12. Rootless Chetas, 18. Sense sphere beautiful Chetas, 24. So altogether we get 81 mundane cetas. And then supramundane cetas are subdivided into two. First, supramundane wholesome cetas, 4 or 20. And then supramundane resultant cetas, 4 or 20. So altogether 89 or 121 types of consciousness. So today we are going to study the first, unwholesome cetas. So how many unwholesome cetas are there? 12 unwholesome cetas. Why are they called unwholesome? Sometimes they are called immoral or unskillful, but I prefer to use unwholesome. Those types of consciousness which are accompanied by greed, hatred and delusion, lobha, dosa and moha, are called unwholesome consciousness. And those that are accompanied by the opposite of these three, non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion, are called wholesome consciousness. And also they will be called beautiful consciousness also. So those that are accompanied by lobha or dosa or moha, greed, hatred or delusion, are called unwholesome consciousness. Now, lobha, dosa and moha are three roots of unwholesomeness, three roots of evil. And always lobha is mentioned first, and then dosa, and then moha. So in this order, lobha, dosa, moha. And in the commentary to this manual, it is stated that lobha, consciousness accompanied by lobha, is mentioned first because in a given existence, the first javana consciousness that arises is accompanied by lobha. So, in whatever existence we are born, the first there is first the attachment to that existence, to that life, and that is so strong that we are always attached to our lives. So that is why consciousness accompanied by lobha is mentioned first, and then dosa, consciousness accompanied by ill will or hate or anger or whatever you call it. And then the last two are accompanied by delusion or moha. Now, moha or delusion is common to all 12 types of consciousness, 12 types of akusala consciousness. But since it is common to all, the first 8 types of consciousness are not called the lobha moha rooted. Just lobha is only taken and then say lobha rooted consciousness. But actually, when we say lobha rooted consciousness, we must understand that there is moha also. The same with dosa rooted consciousness. So let us see the first one. The first citta, please read the Pali also. So you look at the Pali page. Lobha mula citta. So mula means root. So that means lobha root. A citta which has lobha as root. That means citta which is accompanied by lobha. Lobha means attachment, greed, craving, all these are lobha. And the first citta is somanasa sahagata ditthigata sampayutta asaṅgharika. Now somanasa means pleasurable feeling. Somana comes from su and mana. Su means good and mana means mind. So somanasa means the state of having a good mind, the state of a good mind. So when you are happy, your mind is in a good shape. So somanasa means pleasure, and in here it is feeling, pleasurable feeling. Sahagata means, saha means together and gata means to be or arising. So arising together or to be together with somanasa. That means to be blended with this pleasurable feeling. And their blending is so complete that it is very difficult to differentiate which is which. Like two river, water from two rivers, say blending together, mixing together, and then you cannot say which water is from which river. So they are blended that way. Ditti gata sampayutta. Now ditti means view or opinion. When ditti is used without any adjective in front of it, it usually means wrong view. So if we want to say right view, we say samma ditti. Now samma ditti is one of the 8 factors of path. So ditti gata, gata has no special meaning here. Ditti gata means wrong view. Sampayutta means to be associated with. So associated with wrong view. And asaṅgharika means in English unprompted. Now the word sankhara, I've told you the word sankhara has many meanings. So it is very important that you understand correctly what it means in a given context. When we say sankhara khanda, sankhara aggregate, we mean 50 cetasikas. You will come to know them later. When we say all sankharas are impermanent, we mean all conditioned phenomena, all conditioned mind and matter, not just 50 cetasikas. Depending on ignorance, what arises? Sankharas arise. Now there, sankhara means what? Karma formations, right? Karma. So sankhara means 50 cetasikas or 5 aggregates or just volition, one of the cetasikas. But here, in this particular context, sankhara means effort or something like that, or inducement or prompting, encouragement by others or by oneself. Means no. So asaṅgharika means having no sankhara, having no prompting, so unprompted, spontaneous. Now you read the explanation on page 2, right? Unprompted and prompted. The Pali word sankhara is used here in the sense specific to Abhidhamma to mean prompting, instigation, inducement, or the application of an expedient. This prompting may be induced by others. Sometimes your consciousness arises because other people encourage you, other people instigate you. Or sometimes it may originate within oneself. Sometimes you are lazy to do something, then you encourage yourself. The means employed may be bodily, verbal, or purely mental. Sometimes you see someone doing something and then you also want to do it. Sometimes other people may show you by example. Sometimes other people may use words, say, to instigate you. Sometimes it is purely in your mind, you encourage yourself. That consciousness which arises spontaneously without prompting or inducement by expedient means is called unprompted, asaṅgharika. And that consciousness which arises with prompting or inducement by expedient means is called prompted, saṅgharika. Actually it means with prompting. So this kind of consciousness is accompanied by pleasurable feeling, and it is associated with wrong view, and it is unprompted. Now wrong view means believing that there is no karma, and there is no result of karma, there is no law of karma, and there is no this existence or the other existences, something like that. So that is called wrong view here. So the feeling and wrong view and prompting, these three are what make one consciousness become 8 types of consciousness. We will have another feeling, ubeka, when we reach the 5th jeta. Okay, now the first one is accompanied by pleasurable feeling and associated with wrong view, and it is unprompted. So on the English side, I just say with pleasure, with wrong view, so that you don't have to use many words. So with pleasure, with wrong view, unprompted. This is the first type of consciousness. And that kind of consciousness arises when? Oh, you may read it on page 39 of the manual. With joy, holding the view that there is no evil in stealing, a boy spontaneously steals an apple from a fruit stall. So at that time, this type of consciousness arises in his mind. The second one is accompanied by pleasurable feeling and is associated with wrong view, but now it is with prompting. It is prompted. So prompted means, so what? With joy, holding the same view, he steals an apple through the prompting of a friend. Maybe his friend asks him to steal it, or sometimes he may encourage himself, prompt himself. First he was afraid, he may be afraid to steal, and later on you will get an apple and you get to eat it. Why not go and take it or something like that? Because he's saying to himself, and then he steals it. So in that case, his consciousness is accompanied by pleasure, with joy he steals, and with wrong view, and with prompting. The third kind of consciousness arises when, with joy, but not holding any wrong view, he steals unprompted and prompted. He knows that it is wrong to steal, but still he steals, something like that. So if he knows that it is wrong to do it, but he does it, then his consciousness is not accompanied by wrong view. So we get 4 types of consciousness, right? With pleasure, with wrong view, unprompted. With pleasure, with wrong view, prompted. With pleasure, without wrong view, unprompted. With pleasure, without wrong view, prompted. If you understand these 4, you understand the other 4. Just substitute indifferent feeling for pleasurable feeling. So sometimes the boy may steal not with joy, he just steals it. How do you describe here? These 4 are parallel to 1 to 4, except that the stealing is done with neutral feeling. Here he is not happy, he is not sad. Well, with the neutral feeling, he steals. So in that case, these 4 kinds of 4 types of consciousness, they arise. One of these 4 types of consciousness arises in his mind. So altogether there are 8 consciousness, 8 types of consciousness accompanied by greed or lobha, accompanied by attachment. So those that make the cetas different are the feeling, view, and say, prompting or not prompting. So altogether we get 8 types of consciousness accompanied by lobha. Now, on the sheet, there are circles, and I want you to put colors in the circle. It is for you to practice, to memorize. Okay. So, these circles represent these 8, right? So, those that are accompanied by pleasure, I use red color for those red color, and for those that are accompanied by neutral feeling, I use blue color. I want you to use these colors so that later on I can refer to them as look at the red ones or look at the blue ones or something like that. So I want you to put the colors on your sheets. So 4 are accompanied by pleasurable feeling or somanasa feeling, and 4 are accompanied by neutral feeling or indifferent feeling, upekha. Now upekha, the word upekha is translated as equanimity or indifference. I think equanimity is too great for upekha here, so I prefer to use indifference or maybe neutral feeling. Whenever you see the word upekha, you have to understand which is meant, because this term upekha is used for both neutral feeling and also the lofty state of equanimity. So here it is just a neutral feeling. It is neither pleasurable feeling nor displeasurable feeling, just a neutral feeling. So that means when you take an object, you are not happy and you are not sad. With neutral mind, you just take it. So that is upekha here. Then we go to dosa mula ceta 2. Consciousness rooted in ill will. Now dosa, the word dosa means anger, ill will. Some other words? Aversion. All these are covered by the word dosa. So the second root, which is, let's say, ill will. And the type of consciousness accompanied by dosa is called, in Pali, dosa mula citta, consciousness rooted in ill will. Rooted in really means accompanied by roots, not coming out of these roots, not the result of these roots. So, in the manual on the table on page 28, he used greed rooted, hatred rooted, delusion rooted. Okay, now the first one is what? Domanasa sahagata, patigha sampayutta asankharika. And the second one is sasankharika. Now domanasa, what is domanasa? Displeasure. Domanasa comes from do and mana. Do means bad and mana means mind. So the state of a bad mind, bad mental state. And that is domanasa. It is a feeling, a bad feeling, a displeasurable feeling. Sahagata means the same thing. So together with domanasa, feeling, and then patigha sambayukta. Now, patigha means dosa. The literal translation of patigha is to strike against. When you are angry, it is like striking someone or striking your mind with anger. So it is called patigha. Patigha sampayutta asankharika. Now, there is difference between domanasa and domanasa on the one hand and dosa and patigha on the other. Dosa and patigha are the same. Patigha is another word for dosa. But domanasa is different. Domanasa is feeling. And dosa or patigha is not feeling. It is a separate mental factor. With reference to 5 aggregates, domanasa belongs to feeling aggregate. And dosa belongs to formation aggregate, sankhara aggregate. So that is the difference. Although they arise together, and in experience it is very difficult to differentiate these two, but still they are different in nature. One is, domanasa is feeling, or vedana, and patigha or dosa is just dosa, not feeling. So it is another mental factor. But whenever there is domanasa, there is patigha. And whenever there is patigha, there is domanasa. Therefore, here we do not have patigha vipayutta, right? We have only patigha sampayutta and no patigha vipayutta. Vipayutta means not associated with. Because they two are always together. There can be no domanasa without patigha. That is why there is no patigha vipayutta here. So whenever a type of consciousness is accompanied by domanasa, displeasurable feeling, it is invariably accompanied by or associated with dosa. So they go together always. Sometimes you get angry spontaneously without prompting, and sometimes you get angry being prompted. So there are two kinds of consciousness. Now, with hatred, one man murders another in a spontaneous fit of rage. So that is the first Chaita. And the second, with hatred, one man murders another after premeditation, so after encouraging himself, or being encouraged by or instigated by another. So the man murders another man. So in that case, that dosa is sa-saṅgharika. So when you are sad, you are sad with one of these two chaitas. When you are depressed, one of these two chaitas. When you are angry, one of these two chaitas. And also, when you are afraid, when you fear, one of these two chaitas. Now, in Abhidhamma, fear is included in dosa. So fear is described as passive dosa. Anger is active dosa, aggressive dosa, let's say, right? So anger is aggressive and fear is passive. So they are called dosa. So when you are afraid of something, when you fear someone or something, then you fear with one of these two chaitas. Now let us go to the next two. Moha mula citta. Moha. Moha is translated as delusion. So it deludes the mind. It makes your mind fuzzy or something like that. And moha has the characteristic of covering up or hiding the real nature of things. Because of this moha, we do not see things as they are. We do not see things as impermanent, as suffering and so on, because there is moha. Now, these two chaitas are accompanied by moha root only. The previous 10, the first 8, are accompanied by lobha and moha. Not dosa, lobha and moha. And then the two dosa mula chaitas are accompanied by dosa and moha. But the last, these two, are accompanied by moha only. So that is the difference. Although moha is with the other chaitas, its function is not so prominent as in these two chaitas, because there are the other two which are more active than moha is. Lobha and dosa are more active than moha. So moha cannot be prominent in the previous 10 chaitas. But here he is supreme because there is no lobha and no dosa. Now the first one is what? Upekha sahagata vichikicca sampayukta. Vichikicca. You know upekha in different feeling. Now upekha, vichikicca. Vichikicca means doubt. Vichikicca is defined in two ways. Vexation due to perplexed thinking. The other is being devoid of the remedy consisting in knowledge. The first one is vexation due to perplexed thinking. That means you cannot decide which is which. You are wavering. And when you try to find out which is which, you become agitated and you become perplexed. So sometimes it is called perplexion. So vexation due to perplexed thinking is called vichikicca. Actually, it is indecision. You cannot decide one or the other. If you can decide one or the other, there may be either wrong view or right view. But here, you are not sure of any one of the two. That is why it is called something like two-pronged, like a fork in a row. Now the other explanation is that there is no remedy for it, devoid of remedy consisting in knowledge. Now when there is doubt, there can be no understanding, correct understanding, there can be no knowledge. So it is said to be devoid of remedy of knowledge. But if knowledge actually arises, then it will disappear. But so long as there is doubt, knowledge cannot arise. So it is said to be devoid of remedy of knowledge. That is the play upon the words. Now the first meaning is based upon the separation as vici and kecha. Vici means investigating or something, and kecha means perplexion. And the second meaning is based upon vi and chikecha. Chikecha means curing, remedy, medicine. Vi means no. So no medicine, no cure, no remedy. But in essence, it is doubt. Doubt about the Buddha, about the Dhamma, about the Sangha, about the practice, about the Four Noble Truths, about the dependent origination. So these are called doubt. So with indifference and with doubt, the first type of consciousness. So when there is doubt, there can only be indifferent feeling, neutral feeling. No pleasurable feeling or displeasurable feeling. Just the neutral feeling there. That is why there is only upekha sahagata here and no somanasa and domanasa. Now the consciousness accompanied by moha are not so strong as those accompanied by lobha or dosa. So they are something like dull consciousness. So since they are dull consciousness, they cannot enjoy the taste of objects fully as the other chetas do. So they are always accompanied by upekha, indifferent feeling, neutral feeling, and not with pleasurable or displeasurable feeling. A person due to delusion doubts the enlightenment of the Buddha or the efficacy of the Dhamma as a way to deliverance. So when you doubt like this, there is this vicikecha in your mind. Sometimes even during meditation you may have these doubts. Is it really right that just by making notes of the breath or movement of the abdomen I can discover the true nature of things, or it is really beneficial to do this, something like that. So when there is doubt, you cannot go on meditating. So it is one of the mental hindrances which obstructs concentration. Okay, the next one is upekha sahagata, but it is associated with uddhacca, restlessness. Uddhacca is actually a mental factor. Vicikecha is also a mental factor. There are many mental factors here. So you will study mental factors in chapter 2. So uddhacca means trembling above the object. Its literal meaning is ut means above, and dhajja means shaking, trembling. So trembling above the object means you cannot take that object clearly. Your mind is not on that object, and it is not on the other object either. You cannot be on this object firmly. You are wavering, something like that. If you are on the other object, then it is another thing. So it is inability to be fully aware of the object. When you practice meditation, sometimes you don't see the object clearly, right? In, out, or rising, falling. But you don't see it clearly. So it means that there may be udhajja. So try to pay more attention so that you can see clearly. So udhajja sampayoda. Now, udhajja is with all 12 types of consciousness actually. Not only this last one, but it accompanies all the other 11 types of consciousness as well. But it is only this last Jeta is described as udhajja sampayoda, accompanied by udhajja. That is because in the other Jetas there are more active mental states, so that it cannot raise its head. But here, no lobha and no dosa, and so in this Jeta it becomes supreme, and so that is why it is called this last Jeta is described as udhajja sampayoda, associated with udhajja. So it is strong here, it is prominent here, and so that is why this last Jeta is described as udhajja sampayoda. So these two are called moha mula Jeta. So consciousness rooted in delusion, or consciousness accompanied by delusion. So there are three roots of unwholesomeness, and these three roots accompany these 8 types of consciousness in different ways. So the first 8 are accompanied by how many roots?
8.
2 roots. What roots? Lobha and moha. And then the second group, 2 Jetas, accompanied by 2 roots. What are they? Dosa and moha. Now the last 2 accompanied by only 1 root, which is moha. So 8 accompanied by lobha and moha, 2 accompanied by dosa and moha, and another 2 accompanied by moha only. Thus we get altogether 12 types of unwholesome consciousness. Okay, now why are they called unwholesome or akusala? They are called akusala because they are accompanied by, they are blameworthy in themselves, and they bring painful results. They cause painful results. So the characteristic of being a wholesome or unwholesome depends on whether they are blameworthy or without blame, and whether they cause painful results or happy results. Now, page 31, on page 31, you can read it. With respect to its nature, consciousness divided into 4 classes: unwholesome, wholesome, resultant, and functional. Unwholesome consciousness is consciousness that is accompanied by one or another of the 3 unwholesome roots: greed, hatred, and delusion. Such consciousness is called unwholesome because it is mentally unhealthy, morally blameworthy, that is important. Blameworthy, that is morally blameworthy, to be blamed by noble people, and productive of painful results. So they bring painful results. Wholesome consciousness is the opposite of this. So it is called unwholesome because it is blameworthy, morally blameworthy, and because it is productive of painful results. That is why these types of consciousness are called unwholesome or akusala consciousness. Now, there are other translations like unskillful or immoral, but I think they do not quite convey the meaning as adequately as the word wholesome or unwholesome, because say you are enjoying food at home, and if you eat with attachment, that eating is unwholesome. But we cannot call it immoral. You are eating your own food, you are enjoying, and so there is no moral blame in that, right? But still it is unwholesome because it is accompanied, your mind is at that time accompanied by attachment. Sometimes you may be angry because you don't like something in your food, and there is the dosa. So the word immoral for the Pali word akusala is not so good as the word, say, unwholesome. So we will stick to this word unwholesome. So there are 12 types of unwholesome consciousness, and 8 accompanied by, just say, lobha, 2 accompanied by dosa, and 2 accompanied by moha. Okay. You have these sheets I gave you today? Yeah. Now, when we talk about akusala, unwholesome, people are very afraid of unwholesome mental states. But sometimes, at least in 1 or 2 instances, although if mental state is unwholesome, it is not so bad. So not all craving is bad, I said here. And it is from Anguttara Nikaya. So here it is said that this body has come into being by craving, and that based on craving, craving should be abandoned. That means craving for attainment. You want some results from the practice. So that is craving. That is a kind of attachment, right? And that is why I told you at the retreat, do not have any expectations. So expectation is also a kind of greed, kind of attachment. So that is attachment. But because you have that attachment, you have that craving for the result, you practice. And so as a result of practice, you are able to get rid of that craving. So based upon craving, you practice meditation, and you get rid of craving. So such craving is described as permissible or pursuable. In Pali, it is the Pali word used is sevitava. That means pursuable. That means it is permissible. It is okay to have such kind of craving or attachment. If you do not have any craving at all for attainment, for results, you will not practice at all. And if you don't practice, you will not get results, or you will not get free from, say, mental defilements. So sometimes some kind of craving, Buddha said, is permissible. It's okay. So the commentary explains, based on the present craving, that is the desire for becoming an arahant, he gives up previous craving that was the root cause of one's involvement in the cycle of rebirth. That means, based on the present craving for becoming an arahant, he gets rid of craving. That is the root of this life, that is the root of existence. Now it may be asked whether such present craving for arahantship is wholesome kusala or unwholesome akusala. Now, when you come to Abhidhamma, you have to follow what is the fact. You cannot use diplomacy. If it is akusala, we must say it is akusala. So that the commentaries, the commentator here says it is unwholesome. Now, craving, the desire to become an arahant is unwholesome. Because it is attachment, so it falls into unwholesome category. But should it be pursued or not? It should be pursued. So that means it is okay to have such craving. Although it is unwholesome, it is okay. Then you may be afraid of, will I get painful results from this craving, unwholesome mental state? Then read on. Does it drag one into rebirth or not? It will give results as rebirth. The answer is, it does not drag one into rebirth. That means it, let's say, lobha can take you to the world of, say, animals. But this lobha will not take you to the world of animal or to the world of human beings. It will not take you to any rebirth at all. So that is why it is pursuable. It is good to have such craving or such desire to practice meditation, desire to do good, desire to become an arahant. Such permissible craving is abandoned when its object is attained. So when you become an arahant, then you get rid of this craving, this desire. So such desire is not bad. So not all craving is bad. Okay, the next one is, which is the greater evil? King Milinda and the Venerable Nagasena. King Milinda asked, revered Nagasena, for whom is the greater demerit? He who does an evil deed knowingly, or he who does an evil deed unknowingly? And the answer is quite unexpected. And the answer is, his is the greater demerit who does an evil deed unknowingly. Can you accept it? Then the king said, well then, do we doubly punish that royal son of ours or the chief minister who does an evil deed unknowingly? Because in the secular law, you don't punish, at least you don't give severe punishment to those who unknowingly break the law. But Venerable Nagasena's argument is, what do you think about this? If one man should unknowingly take hold of a red-hot ball of iron, aglow, aflame, ablaze, and another should take hold of it knowingly, which would be the more severely burned? If you don't know it will burn, you will take hold of it firmly and then you will burn more. If you know that it will burn but you have to or you want to take it, then you will be very careful not to let it be burned too much. So in that case, one who does an evil deed unknowingly gets a greater demerit than one who does it knowingly. So Milinda King answered, he who took hold of it unknowingly revealed would be the more severely burned. Even so, sir, the greater demerit is his who does an evil deed unknowingly. Now, the king said, you are dexterous. But sometimes you break a rule or a law, or you break a precept or unknowingly, that you do not know the precept and you break it. In that case, it may not be too bad. Because here, knowingly breaking is, when you break a rule knowingly, then you have disrespect for the person, or disrespect for the law, or disrespect for the person who laid down these rules. Now suppose I break a rule of monks. A rule of monks are laid down by the Buddha. So if I break a rule of the monk, I not only break the rule, but I also have disrespect for the Buddha. So in that case, knowingly breaking the rule should be more demerit, more akusala than unknowingly breaking the rule. But the answer given by Nagasena here is that, you know, it is akusala, it is unwholesome, but you cannot avoid doing it, and so you cannot help it, and so you do it. So when you do it, in order not to get greater demerit, you do it with care, and so there is less demerit for you. But breaking a rule knowingly and unknowingly, I think it is different. So if a monk breaks a rule, a Vinaya rule, then breaks a rule knowingly, I think his demerit may be greater, because not only breaking the rule itself, but also he shows respect, disrespect to the Buddha. Yeah. The other, it will take a long time to explain these causes of being somanasa, sahagata, and so on. I will go to it quickly. You do not find these in the manual. Now, what makes a consciousness accompanied by somanasa, detigita, and so on? Or what makes you have the feeling of somanasa, the feeling of domanasa, and deity, and so on? So the commentaries give these reasons, and I think they will be, or some of them may be useful to psychologists or psychiatrists. Now, what induces, say, somanasa feeling? A desirable object. So when you see a pleasant object, a desirable object, you are happy. So a desirable object is a reason, a condition for the pleasurable feeling to arise. And then having somanasa relinking. Now that means sometimes we meet a person who is almost always happy, who is in the habit of, say, being happy. So that means that he is reborn with that somanasa feeling. His relinking consciousness or rebirth consciousness must be accompanied by somanasa feeling. So those who have somanasa relinking, that means who take rebirth with somanasa feeling, tend to have somanasa feelings mostly in their lives. And then number 3 is shallow nature. So if you are a jolly person, according to this, you are of a shallow nature. Because those who have deep nature, they don't laugh so much. Well, once I visited a place in Northern California, and I was talking to a man there, and I was smiling and laughing. And then the man who went with me asked him, have you ever met a Buddhist monk? He said, no. Then my friend said, you are not talking to a Buddhist monk. Then he said, is he a Buddhist monk? I don't think Buddhist monks laugh. Okay, so I may be of shallow nature. Okay, why is one tend to have a wrong view, so possessing wrong view? That means a person was born again and again and again with wrong view, and such a person is he tends to become a place for wrong view, or a receptacle for wrong view, and so he tends to take a wrong view. And then association with people who have wrong view, that's very true. So you associate with someone and then you become like that person. And then asaṅkarika, when consciousness is unprompted, having asaṅkarika relinking again. So when you take rebirth, your rebirth consciousness must have been accompanied by, your consciousness must have been unprompted. The relinking consciousness is a resultant consciousness. So as a resultant consciousness, you will see later on when we come to the beautiful sense-sphere consciousness. So there are prompted and unprompted. So if your rebirth consciousness is unprompted, then you tend to have unprompted consciousness during the life. And then good health. When you are in good health, you don't have to be instigated by other person. You don't have to be encouraged by other person to do something, because you are healthy and you just do it. And then no bothering about heat or cold. You don't care whether it is hot or cold. So such a person do things spontaneously. Now, if you are sensitive to cold and then the weather is cold, then you have to be encouraged, you have to be prompted by other person or by yourself to do something. And if you don't take care of this, cold, then you do things spontaneously, and so there is unprompted consciousness. And then belief in and anticipation of fruits of diligence. So if you believe that you will get something, if you do something, then you will do it without being instigated by others. And then adeptness in one's work. When you are familiar with your work, when you are familiar with doing something, then you will do it spontaneously. So there is no prompting. And then suitable climate and food. If you have a good climate, that's true. When the climate is good, then our minds are also bright and happy, and so we tend to do things spontaneously. And then if we have good food, also we have good feeling, and so we do things without being prompted. So suitable climate and food. There may be other reasons also, but these are those given in the ancient books. And then what about being sasankharika? That is the opposite of the above. And then upekha sahagata, neutral feeling. That means, the first one is neutral objects. Objects though that are not desirable or undesirable. The neutral objects. So when you meet the neutral objects, then you have a neutral feeling. And then having upekha, relinking. So your relinking consciousness or rebirth consciousness must have been accompanied by upekha, and you have deep nature. So you're always thinking deep, and so you don't get pleasurable feeling quite often, and so you have this upekha feeling. And then domanassa sahagata and patika samyutta, the reasons are for both. The first one is undesirable object. When the object is undesirable, you tend to get angry. If you don't like something, you get angry. So the undesirable object is one reason for being accompanied by displeasurable feeling. And then having any one of the 9 grounds of ill will, 9 grounds of grudge, 9 grounds of dosa. So there are 9 reasons for dosa to arise. And they are the thought that he has done harm to me. So thinking that way, you get angry with that person. Or he is doing harm to me. Or he is going to do harm to me. So that way you get angry with that person. And then he has done harm to someone dear to me. He is doing harm to someone dear to me. He has done harm to someone dear to me. So in that way also, thinking that way, you get angry. That is with regard to the person who is dear to you. And then the last 3 is with regard to a person whom you dislike. Sometimes we don't want something good happen to those whom we hate. So here, he has conferred a benefit to someone I dislike, I hate. He is conferring, or he will confer a benefit to someone I dislike, an object. So in thinking that way also, we get dosa or domanassa. So these are called 9 grounds of ill will or 9 grounds of grudge. They are mentioned in the Anguttara Nikaya and also in Abhidhamma. And there is one more. I don't find it in the commentaries, but there is one more, and that is called less anger. Anger without reason. I mean, without valid reason. when the weather is too hot, you are angry with weather. When it is too cold, you are angry, something like that. Sometimes you hit against something, and then you are angry with that thing, and then you kick it again. So these are called groundless anger. So you are not even angry with these, but still people get angry. So all these are reasons for being somanasa, for accompanied by pleasurable feeling, or for the pleasurable feeling to arise, for the wrong view to arise, and so on. So when we know the reason for these, we can do something so that we can change ourselves. Okay, now what I want you to do with this chart or with the sheet is try to memorize. These the 12. Memorize in English, because Pali may be too difficult for you at this point. But do not leave the Pali altogether alone, because we will be using Pali words again and again and again. And once you know the Pali word, then you will find the taste of it. And later on, you will want to use Pali word only, because when you use Pali word, there is no chance of being misunderstood or no chance of misrepresenting. But when we use English translations, sometimes it's not, the translations are not accurate, and they may lead to misunderstanding. So even when I use English translations, I will refer back to Pali words, and once the Pali word is defined, then later on we can use Pali words only. So put the colors in the circles, and then try to memorize these 12. The first column. So one by one, so column by column, you will memorize, and after about 1 month, you'll get the whole picture. I mean, the whole chart of these dots. And you know, it is like in chemistry, what do you call that? Periodic table, yeah, like something like that. So I deliberately leave them just the dots or circles, and no description, no names or whatever. Because if you write something here, then you will always depend on those letters. So first look at this, and then try to say it. First, say these 8 are what? Accompanied by Loba, right? These 2, Dosa. So I use the color green. And then the last 2, accompanied by Moha, right? Okay. Now this one, then among the 8 Loba Mulacita, the 4 are accompanied by joy or say pleasurable, and the other 4 are indifferent feeling. And among these 4, the first 2 are associated with wrong view, and the second 2 not associated with. Again, among the 4 accompanied by indifference, the first 2 are associated with wrong view, and the second 2 not associated. Okay. Now, in the manual, the word dissociated is used. I'm not sure about this word. What does that mean, dissociated? Unassociated, is there a difference between unassociated and disassociated?
Yeah, I think disassociated infers that
First they are together,
associated
right?
first, yeah.
First they are together and then you take one away. Yeah. That is not the meaning required here. So I prefer to use unassociated or non-associated. Okay, so these two are not associated with deity, right? With wrongview. Okay, and these two are accompanied by what feeling? Just say anger, right? Displeasure.
Displeasure.
And these two are accompanied by indifference. Okay. Now let us come to this. So with pleasure, with wrong view, unprompted. Then with pleasure, with wrong view, prompted. With pleasure, without wrong view, unprompted. With pleasure, without wrong view, prompted. With indifference, with wrong view, unprompted. With indifference, with wrong view, prompted. With indifference, without wrong view, prompted. With indifference, without wrong view, prompted. Okay, very good. And then this one, dosa, right? Displeasure. With displeasure, with ill will, same thing. Yeah? Unprompted. With displeasure, with ill will, prompted. Yeah. And then these two, the first one, with indifference, with doubt. Indifference, doubt. There is no prompted or unprompted, no difference of prompted or unprompted. So they are out of prompted and unprompted. And then the last one is with indifference, with restlessness. Right. So you practice this way at home. And you can say, cover the description here and just look at these circles and say, with pleasure, with wrong view, unprompted. And if you don't remember, you can remove the cover and then look at it and then cover it again. So this way, you can say, memorize on these 12. So before next week. Okay.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
If you can maybe small cup with color, it will be very good. How do we do it? One thing is you can take the photo, right? And then make copies. I think it is good to keep it this card with you always. And then when you're waiting in a line or in a car traffic jam or whatever, you can take it out and touch it. So we'll be using this all up to the end of the book. We will always refer to this. So please try to be very familiar with this chart.
If you don't have the blank chart,
Oh. Yeah. Okay. You have any questions?
We have one quick question. We have 8 types of consonant root in Greek. So I would like to ask you, which chitta have more productive painful result in the A root in grade? Yeah, yeah. Which one have more productive painful result than that?
It is said that unprompted are stronger than prompted. So unprompted consciousness gives worse results, more painful results.
How about with so
Those
how
are
about
the
with
same.
yeah, no, how about so now they have the page 39, so they give cheetah number 1, number 2 and 3, 4, 5A with the boy still. So I would like to ask about cheetah number 5, 2A. The stealing is done with neutral feeling and with the joy. So it is with more with neutral feeling.
Yeah,
And compare with the
it is explained that in the chetas belonging to sensuous sphere. Now we are studying chetas belonging to sensuous sphere. So in the case of sensuous chetas belonging to sensuous sphere, somanasa is stronger than upekkha. So whatever you do with somanasa will give better results than with upekkha. But when you come to jhana chetas and supramanian chetas, then those accompanied by upekkha are stronger. There you need a lot of
Regarding the level of painful result associated with the prompt and unprompted, does it have anything to do with the chetana? Because when we do it unprompted, that means somehow we must have the chetana in ourselves to do it.
yes, chetana is all present with all these chetas, or actually all the chetas. But I think being prompted and being unprompted makes chetana give more better results or more painful results. So it is chetana that gives results, but it is the prompting or unprompting that makes chetana give better results or worse results.
So in case of unprompted, is there a mental state along with the chetana or just by chetana?
Being prompted or unprompted is not said to be any mental state. It is just one's, what do you call that? Encouraging or not encouraging. I mean, instigating or not instigating. Instigated or not instigated.
Which is better, sir? Those are unprompted.
Unprompted is said to be better than prompted. Said to give more results than prompted. Because when you are prompted, when you are encouraged to do, there is some kind of no initiative, right? So, for example, say you have no thought of practicing dhyana, but the moment you see someone, say a person in distress or hungry man, and you just give him food or give him money or something like that. You don't have to encourage yourself, or nobody has to tell you. You just spontaneously give to the man, and that kind of dana is said to be very productive of very abundant results. When you are prompted, there is something like dullness in it.
Why is it that there doesn't seem to be any wrong view connected with anger? Sometimes people, say, "Oh, I'm righteously angry," and then sometimes we're angry and we know it's wrong.
Now, Abhidhamma is very, very precise, and consciousness of mind arises and disappears very quickly. So we are not able to see the difference between one Chaita and another. Now, it is true that we have, say, a wrong view about ourselves. Say, I have a wrong view that I have an atta. That because I have this wrong view, somebody comes and insults me, I get angry. So because I have a wrong view, I get angry. Because Arahants have no wrong view and they don't get angry, right? So my anger is maybe based on or motivated by my wrong view. But when I get angry, my mind is not accompanied by wrong view at that moment, but is accompanied by anger. So anger and wrong view do not arise at the same moment. Although they arise at different moments, in actual practice it is almost the same moment, because the life of one thought moment is, as you know, a billionth of a second or something like that.
Why are they not? Why do they not arise at the same moment?
There are moments, and at one moment, one consciousness arises, one type of consciousness arises, and it takes one object. So one consciousness is capable of taking only one object at a time.
What I mean is the anger is a mental state, and the vachaviti is another mental state. They can arise simultaneously. And why they not? Why do they not arise at the same time?
Anger and
Wrong view.
wrong view. I think wrong view is mostly connected with or associated with attachment. There is attachment, and so there is wrong view. Wrong view and attachment are coexisting. Dosa is, dosa is called aversion. So that means turning away from the object or something like that. So lobha or ditthi is taking hold of the object, and dosa is actually turning away from the object. I think that is why they do not arise together. So whenever we are angry, actually we don't want this. If I don't like this, I don't want to see it either, right? So my mind turns away.
Then are the first 8 more complicated or more complex, and do they take longer? Do they have a longer existence than the next 2 and then next 2? Because they have more components?
Which one?
In other words, the first 8 have more components, pleasure, wrong view, and unprompted. And the second, in the 9 and 10 only have 3 components, and then 11 and 12
right.
only have 2 components.
That is because, as I said, whenever there is domanassa, there is dosa, patika. And they are always together. And so there is no domanassa that is without patika or dosa. So that is why there is no patika with payutta. That is why there is only 2. And in the case of the last 2, there is no prompting or unprompting. Whether prompted or unprompted, they are the same. The last 2, the doubt and restlessness. We were with the previous 10, say 8 loba mulas and 2 dosa mulas. There is difference of the results between prompted and unprompted. The results of prompted and the result of unprompted are different, and so they have kind of different strengths or something like that. But in the case of the last 2, there is no such difference. So that is why they are left out of being prompted or unprompted. Now, in the manual, you'll find that some authors take the last 2 to be unprompted. But the author of the original manual itself did not say anything about prompted or unprompted with regard to the last 2. And in the second chapter, when he described the combination of cetas and cetasikas, he said the 5 unprompted consciousness, the 5 prompted consciousness. So he left out the last 2. So the last 2 are out of, say, prompted or unprompted actually. But sometimes in Burma, we have to be very familiar with the particulars of these cetas. And so in order to facilitate, to make easier to classify, the teachers put these 2 among unprompted. And Lady Searo's view is given in this book too.
Bante, when I tell lie to someone and I say the untrue, so what the unwholesome citta here? When I say lie, is that
This should be could be one of these loba mula cetas. There. I want you to read the book. Next. Rootless consciousness.